indefinite break now! What's up, guys? I'm Serie here to do a breakdown and review of chapter 140 of Frieren, man, which is known as the ball. Man, we were on a ball, bro. Why you got on an indefinite break? I know. They make it peak. It takes time to make peak, but bro, I wanted more, man. That's what I'm for. But let's not waste any more time, man. Let's hop right into it. Editing me. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here from Friday. Have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, we will be doing an experiment. So don't mind me, because I've already read this chapter. That's how I know there's an indefinite break at the end of it. But this chapter is real nice. It does something interesting. That I didn't necessarily think about until it actually started happening. And obviously I'm heavily biased because I like all of the elf characters except for no, it's not that I don't like Craft. I just wonder what Craft's role in the narrative is going to be after a while. Is he going to do something? He's alive. How old is he? Presumably not as old as Serie, but he's older than Frieren, right? So how strong are you, Craft? But ultimately I love all the elf characters. Legit. Where is it? Where? I know you're here. You can't hide. Oh gosh, John, you got caught on that. No. But there we go. I love all the elf characters so much that, of course, my dumb, silly Frieren OC is naturally an elf guy with elf powers who's elfy. So, this chapter gave me something that I kind of always been subconsciously wanting, but never really saw or realized. Look at him. Right, yeah. And obviously, seeing elf interactions is the main thing that got me freaking geeking for the chapter, but also just the general theme of this chapter and the connections of all these characters who are specifically here on this mission is fantastic. But let's not talk so vaguely about it. Let's actually get into the chapter itself and start talking deep and devious about it. So we open up and we do get to see that everyone is preparing for the ball, and ultimately we're getting a little bit of a rundown on what the matchup and sync-up is going to be. Ultimately, for obvious reasons, Ubel and Land cannot actually be in the ball. Because, they are actually wanted fugitives. And while they don't have any, photo technology in this universe, considering, the magic special forces are extremely dangerous and we're apparently hunting down all of Land's family, they legit have no reason to the ball. So they will be out, but everyone else will be in. In fact, everyone else will be really in on that gosh darn ball as Serie's guards. However, with that being the case, we do get to see that realistically, the whole reason Serie even ordered Ubel to go get Land is because she knows of Land's history. She's I know exactly why you feel this certain type of way about this nation, big dog. So, in fact, let me spill a little bit of tea on you real quick. And he immediately says, "What is Serie? I know you can one-shot me. I get it. But please shut your mouth." And I do like that interaction. Once again, Serie's dynamic with the human cast is very interesting. It makes me wonder how much of it changed or how much of it was always this way. We just don't have enough context for Serie as a character, especially considering we know she's way older than Frieren. So we have no context for how she was, who knows, maybe 2,000 years ago. But even still, it's great to see her have this almost casual and somewhat sad interaction with all these humans, considering they're specks of specks, and she barely knows Land. Think about it. Land's barely, I think he's maybe at his oldest 20. So legitimately a fraction of Serie's lifespan. But she respects him enough to not further go into that thing and rather explain to them that the main reason that Ubel was sent is because not only would Ubel be the only one to actually draw Land out of his village, for one, but for two, Ubel kind of needs someone to hold her reins. And naturally, while I know the Lubel shippers out there took this scene with me as a person who was also a low-key Lubel shipper, I do find it funny that ultimately neither of them are really fine with that arrangement, but do acknowledge it as Land is no, where are those, I wonder? And Ubel's probably left them behind somewhere. Ultimately, the leash that Serie refers to is likely just their connection and their bond specifically, which is so funny because it is purely by chance. It makes you wonder if ultimately Land was paired up with somebody else that wasn't Ubel in their initial test, would this dynamic even exist? Probably not. But with it being the case, obviously, writing is writing, so the writing is good there. I do like that. The next thing is a nice calm little interaction. I'll admit, Stark and Sign don't get too much this chapter, but I think it's because their main conflict is already set up last chapter, or no, realistically the chapter before that, when Stark and Sign saw the blacksmith priest, but of course guerrilla warrior on that sheet of paper, and obviously Sign's mental conflict is still with that, and Stark once again, it's kind of weird. It feels like none of our main cast has any like true deep investment in this entire scenario. At least not like Land does, or no, mainly I'd say mainly like Land and Sign does. But and then by main cast I mean like our main trio, as in Stark, Frieren, and Fern. But ultimately, so I do like how Sign goes out of his way to try and lighten the mood, or at least in my opinion lighten the mood, but you can tell by his expression he's not really. He's so focused on what he feels like he needs to focus on, where he's like, hey, you think there'll be any baddies at this ball? And like, I think she's still small. I wonder if y'all think Saturday's Sign's type? Nah, probably still too short. Probably still too short. She still does look really, really young. Like, if I were to see Sete, especially considering like her height, like she's really, really tiny. So like, she probably still looks about like oldest 20, and if that. And Sign, he likes them older, fun and divine type women. And Sete, I wouldn't say fits that bill. But with that being the case, we also do get a nice, funny little scene here, but a scene with deep subtext. And hey, if there's one thing I love of Frieren, is the casual subtext, because we ultimately see that Fern is getting dressed up right now, and thusly cannot actually take care of Frieren right now. And Sete mocks Frieren for her inability to tie her own hair, and Frieren reveals that apparently Sete can't do it either, but Sete places it on her reverence as essentially a deity in this universe, and is like, I'm just chilling, I'm just vibing. So of course they revere me, they can do my hair, but you have no excuse because you're just a random, even though clearly Frieren's not a random. But in Sete's perspective, I suppose everyone in this universe is random. But once again, it goes to show like the contrast between Sete, like the actual literal magical deity that she is, and just the regular kind person that we see she is. Because notably, we see that Sete does offer to do Frieren's hair, only for Frieren to be like, just die, bro. Like please, hop off tip. And notably, we see that Sete actually brings up an interesting idea that it's not going to happen. Just the idea of her dropping dead is like a literal impossibility, at least in her mind. And as we see later on in the chapter, literally in Frieren's mind too. As Sete literally asks Frieren, hey, can you visualize a future with me dying? And notably, that's the thing that me and many others in the comments, and at least just like the whole community, is like, there's no way it can actually do it, right? Like I can see an attack happening and an attack leading to a war between the Empire and the Intercontinental Magic Association. But like, no way that necessarily actually just gets dipped by these random Shadow Warriors. But with that being the case, it's interesting, and it goes to show that Sete has basically no reason for guard, which she already stated, but like this is reinforcing it. And naturally, Frieren asks, like, wait a minute. So I don't actually need to be here, and you're not going to force my student to be here. And in fact, you don't really think any of this is necessary. So what are you doing? What are we all on this mission for? And in fact, why are you just trying to dissuade us from the mission when we're already here? And we see that Sari reveals her machinations, essentially. And it's like, when you three came to the Imperial capital, Sansa, that beloved pupil who reveres you, did she truly believe you would not drag me into this? And we see, ultimately, I like how Sari does take it as a manner of disrespect here, and is like, Frieren, come here. I shall tie your hair. Like, ultimately, that it's so interesting to see that dynamic between these two, because obviously they are the ones with the most direct history with each other. Well, I wouldn't be shocked if ultimately Sete spent like less time with Frieren than she did any of her other disciples and students, because Frieren never was a disciple, she was Flame disciple. I do genuinely find it possible that this is the first time these two have had an elaborate, real conversation since the death of Flame. Because remember, ultimately, Sari got reintroduced to Frieren being an active part of the modern world when she broke the barrier. That was it. So, like, this is the first time these two are talking, and seeing these two ancient creatures, and admittedly, it's weird calling Frieren ancient, since we know that there are two confirmed elves that are alive, that we know are older than her. That's Sete and Kraft. But ultimately, these two ancient creatures communicate, and they're rather almost... it's weird, because I'm not sure what role I would play, or place Sete and Frieren in terms of like a familiar relationship. Almost like a distant aunt. Like, ultimately, they know each other. And they know each other well enough. And they have some sort of connection. But clearly, they see the world in different ways and view it from different directions. And thusly, they don't really overlap or align. And I do like that characterization for these two. And it's very well shown here. And notably, before Frieren could actually be forced to allow Sete to do her hair so those two could actually have like a decent conversation over that, Fern is taken care of and allows Frieren to essentially escape the scenario. And then Sansa is ordered to come and be taken care of by Sete. Once again, kind of crazy. Like, imagine if... I can't think of any scenario, because, like, I don't think there's anything on the planet that would equivocate to what Serie is. We haven't seen her go all out, and I doubt we ever will. But we may never. Like, that's the thing. I'm not sure what natural, organic means or metric the narrative can introduce to, like, make Serie actually involved in the battle. Because it's even implied, like, early on that she could have possibly beaten the Demon King if she really wanted to. In fact, she's like, do you think I would lose? And ultimately Flame's like, no. But you just won't do it because you like conflict. And that irreconcilable difference is so interesting to see when combined with this softer side of Serie that we see. Because we even see that Serie does acknowledge the individual strengths and powers of her students and her disciples. And ultimately, she admits that, yeah, there may have been other people more qualified, but they simply weren't built for a mission like this. And ironically enough, we do see a character like Lernen interact with Denkin and what's his name? What is it? I just call him the Lord of Weiss, but he's a really cool character. But essentially, these three meet to talk about the nature of, let's just say, the state of the world is going to happen after this. Once again, I'm low-key sniffing a war arc that we're going to see for like 5 years. I'm sniffing a war arc, low-key. But with it being the case, we see that Sensa then asks the natural question that Frieren was hinting at earlier: why us? Why here? Why now? What is up with this? And Serie ultimately reveals that the main reason that everyone who's here is because Serie can see something in them that they may not be able to see in themselves. That strength, that potential, an unwavering ability to get distracted by something. Whether it be by their humanity, whether it be by their interest in magic in the case of Frieren, whether it be for the mundanity of it all, for the fact they have another master in the case of Fern. Like, everyone here is something of an outcast. Of course, that even leads to this guy, who I'm not sure what his specific outcast trace is, but we do obviously understand everything with Land or Rebel. And like, this guy, a spell that will allow me to freely change my voice. Like to mimic your voice. Yeah, so even then, once again, these spells are necessarily the most practical and not the most conventional, like, tools of power that you would expect. Even Denkin technically wouldn't be requested for this mission, not only because of his connections to the Empire through his connections to Weiss, but also simply because he did actually ask for a combative spell. All these people are unique and strange in their own ways. And thusly, she wants to see the true potential of all the mages here. And she thinks ultimately this is the best place to do it. Now, it's interesting that Frieren gets lumped into this, but then again, it does make sense because no one's actually ever seen it. I don't even think Serie herself has seen it. Once again, because she didn't know where Frieren was for the last 1,000 years until she showed herself. We're not 1,000 years. She probably knew that she was on the hero's journey, but like, she didn't know exactly where Frieren was or her level of potential. So ultimately, this mission is to bring out the best in all of the people here, from Land to Bell. Now, this guy's name I forget, to probably not these two. I say the only two who are specifically excluded are Stark and Sign. Because, like, she doesn't know anything about them. And probably doesn't care. But then again, maybe she cares something about Sign. It's unknown how much Serie herself has, like, perused in the goddess magics. Like, presumably she hasn't. But then again, I assume she would have to know some healing magic, like at least a little bit, just to take care of herself. But regardless, that's a very interesting premise. And that's why I say Serie is such an interesting character, and why low-key don't want her to die just yet. If she is going to die, like, I mean, they go crazy, but like, I'm low-key hoping the Shadow Warriors fumble, just like she says they will. Because there's so much interesting potential behind this character. And seeing how she worries so deeply for humanity, and worries, and is interested in the potential of humanity, almost as if, not, and the thing is, like, part of me is like, maybe she just wants to have another flame. But at the same time, I feel like she knows that that's literally impossible. And ultimately just wants to see what human potential has to offer, which is interesting considering her transcendental position. And notably, just like Frieren, she didn't really have anybody but Flame for the last 1,000 years or so to actually inspire something different in her. So it's interesting to see her passion for this next generation. And overall, this is a W chapter. I like it a lot, mainly, once again, for all the character work it does. This is a setup chapter. 100% undeniably and indubitably. This is explaining the setup of the ball. Like, notably, it's called the ball, but we don't really even get to the ball until the final page, or like the last 2 pages of the darn chapter. But it is all setup. But it's a setup that I can lean with. It's a setup I can rock with. It's a setup I can appreciate for what it does for the characters. Almost every single character in the chapter that appears in this final page gets something to themselves. Whether it be Ubel and the Rain's dynamic, whether it be Land and his dynamic with the Empire and Serie, whether it be Serie with literally everyone else here, whether it be Freya and her dynamic to Serie. Ferd, she doesn't get much this chapter. Once again, I'll admit, she and her and him, they're like, they vibed for the most part. But still, every character gets a little piece of thing, a little bit of stuff. And that's why I like Frieren so much. That's why Frieren is so peak. That's why I'm so sad on it. I definite break. Now, of course, indefinite break could mean a month. It could be till June. Because, like, I think, because we had consistent free run for 5 months? 5 months? Because I remember I caught up on free run in, like, March. I didn't stop talking about it for a while, but it was coming out again around, like, July or June. And then we stopped. So it may be another like half year break. I wouldn't be shocked. Once again, I don't know why these breaks happen. I'm assuming it's just the artists themselves or the writer. Regardless, hey, I can wait for some pee. But if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave ball the. Yeah, I said it. Ball the. Not the ball, but ball the. In the comment section down below. And thanks so much for watching. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that little case bell so you don't miss out on any music on the channel. Also, you happen to have a Patreon below where you support me for as low as $1 $1. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You'll also become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions, the series having to review, and variations of all my videos, and becoming $25 Patreon or a $25 member. You can order whatever video you want. Also, I have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below where you can drop 5 beats for a short video, 20 beats a long video, or any beats at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Greyhound, Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Brandon Payne, Glacier XC, G Prosper, Planet Crone, and Zeta. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our line art tier patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kirai Void, Kevin Encarnacion, Igneal Lind, and A+A. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our Ink tier patrons: Fine, Austin Wimberly, A Uchiha, Yuki Ally, and Carlo Alaimo. Then I'd like to give a gargantuan thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. And then I'd like to give a big old gargantuan thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Overlord Zero, Joaquin Munoz, and Idemokami. And I'd like to give a legendary, top of the line, sublime, sweet mother of mercy, super slopping, juicy, scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our That Guy with a Pencil tier patron, Calvin Elder.